My beautiful souls and beautiful friends, hello, welcome to Self-Love Talks, and today this is Gaia Transmissions Part 2. If you've been following these Self-Love Talks the last few weeks, they've been getting more and more deep, profound and amazing, and life is changing pretty quickly these days. Have you noticed that? The energies are all changing, everything is quickening and awakening, and it's been super, super powerful. So here we are again doing a part 2 of Gaia Transmissions, and with me today I feel super blessed, have a new friend in my life and this incredible being called Zissis. And Zissis is from Canada. He's a heart math trainer from the Heart Math Institute and the School of the Heart teacher, and really happy to be sharing this time and this conversation with you, Zissis.
Yes, blessings, Tara, to you and all the ones watching right now. I want to actually honor my business partner, Paula, who you had last week, and she did such an amazing job. I love the conversation. So I'm honored to be here and honored to have a conversation about whatever will emerge.
I know, and Paula's such a beautiful lady. It's amazing, isn't it? Even just in the last few weeks, all of the connections, and I'm guessing that you guys are having this experience as well, like all the new energy, you know, new people in your life that feel like old people. You know what I mean? Like your soul tribe kind of gathering.
Well, it's happening. It's happening for all of us. It's happening.
Yes.
Our soul family is coming together because we've been activated for a single purpose and time, which we'll get into about this particular time that is fast approaching.
It is, we're in it, it's thick and fast. So yeah, just coming back to Paula, so I was invited on to do the Divine Feminine Roundtable, and if you haven't watched those videos, please go watch them because they're amazing, and they just like,
yeah,
they're just catalyzing so much right now as well for people that are watching. But through that, then I met Paula, and then I invited Paula to do a self-love talks with me last week, and we did Gaia Transmissions Part 1, and then you worked with Paula, so through Paula I met you, and it's just like, oh, this feeling, it's just so, you know, we were just sharing, weren't we, before we came on, it's like the energies right now.
Yeah, that's what love is.
It is. It's like home. It's like, anyway, so you wanted Zissis before we even like go into sharing and whatever is going to come through today. You wanted to do like a grounding in, like a.
Yeah, I wanted to do an intention. So anyone that's observing us now, watching us, just want you to get comfortable. Just settle in where you are right now. And when you feel you've got that place, I invite you to close your eyes. I want you to feel the words that I'm going to talk very shortly. I'm just going to wait till everybody settles down.
Yeah.
And then invite you to close your eyes. And I want you to feel these words. I offer you peace. I offer you love. I offer you friendship. I see your beauty. I hear your need. I feel your feelings. My wisdom flows from the highest source. I salute that source in you. From this moment now, we are working together for unity and love. It starts with you. It's time to awake from the dream and ascend. And when you're ready, let's have fun and begin the course.
I keep wanting to do this. I don't know why. Like, I just feel my energy in my third eye is just like this enormous gold diamond of just like.
It's amazing visual.
And my heart is just like, everything's just expanding so much, isn't it? It's like we were just saying, like yesterday.
Yes.
I was like, oh my goodness, that feeling of just gone, just blown apart, and all the emotions, just everything that's happening, all the different levels, just somehow feeling the exquisite of all of it, and just tears. Yesterday, it was like halfway through the day, that was it. I was on the sofa, just let the tears come, and I didn't really move from there.
Well, I always say the tears are the homecoming. It's our way of coming home. And so
that's beautiful.
Yeah, it is. And for some, as we begin to awake from slumber, not know how to deal with these feelings, right? Because they're overwhelming. They can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
The overwhelming of love and compassion and kindness and support. And it is overwhelming. The world.
And I would say mixed in with the grief as well. I think there's a grief and a sadness and a longing and a uncertainty. I think for a lot of people, the feelings are all mixed in together,
It's a spectrum. And I think we vacillate, or we move from spectrum, from the lower spectrum of the fear, the desolation, the loneliness, the uncertainty. And then some of us are moving to the higher spectrum at times. But, part of the conversation, part of what our responsibility is right now, is to actually embody the higher spectrum emotional content, as it were. Those higher emotions is what's going to create a much more pleasant and much more expedient timeline that benefits all of humanity in the universe. So how do we do that? How do we do that?
And the way that we've been talking about it as well is like when you give birth, when you birth in fear, everything kind of can start to spiral in the wrong direction, or in a painful direction. And actually, when you birth in total surrender, the bliss comes, the joy comes, and you have this ecstatic experience that's just off the charts. And so we can have that kind of awakening within us, right? We can get into the fear of what's happening and want to try and control everything and get overwhelmed that way.
Right. Or
just surrender to it and allow the expansive, mind-blowing bliss experiences instead. And that's where it's at, isn't it? Really, that's where.
Well, as you're talking, I'm thinking of an actual example of a roller coaster. I don't know if you like roller coasters or not, but
not so much. They're all right.
So, this kind of feels like a roller coaster, right? And we I don't know about you, but when I begin my roller coaster, I envision all the things that it possibly could be, right? And I resist in trying to get into the roller coaster. And as the roller coaster begins, you have no choice but to let go, as it were. And as you let go, hopefully, and as you surrender to this magnificent ride, then we really start to have fun, right? The exhilaration.
When you realize you're not going to die, you freak, and it's not freaking out. Yeah, like, oh, what the heck?
What is death? Only to awake, right? I mean, this is a conundrum in a way, right? So embodying those higher spectrum emotions are really key for all of us right now. And I like to explore how that can be, and what people need to get to that point. Because for me, I don't know about the space that you're in and what you're seeing in the UK, certainly Canada, and what I see in the US. For me, it seems like all of us are kind of waiting for direction. All of us are kind of waiting for someone to kind of rise up and say, you know what, we need to do this. All of us are immersed into the drama of the politics and the drama of the COVID and what it is and how it got here, but it's taking us away from the most important part, and that's the sacred space of the heart. So we need to minimize the chatter. It's important. I'm not saying it's not important. We need to minimize the chatter and start working with intention on how individually we can change the world. And absolutely, we can change the world. We are all incredibly powerful, divine, multi-dimensional beings. And anyone that's told you otherwise is the programming that's been in place for many, many years.
Absolutely. And I definitely, I'm not one of these people that sits around waiting for someone to tell me what to do. You know, even today, as you know, I'm like, no, the self-love mission is on. And everything that we're going to talk about in a minute, we're going to talk about Gaia transmissions. What that means is what I actually hear and listen in my conversations with Gaia, and what wants to be kind of shared as a message and come through for everybody. So you can kind of take direction from that if it helps. And by the way, just a precursor, I don't think I'm particularly unique or special in that I have conversations with Gaia. Anybody can do it. We have conversations with everything we engage with, right? Whether it's in our head or out loud. And I have those conversations out loud with Gaia, and they're very, very real. And so I'm going to share with you what comes through. So those of you that don't listen to Gaia or haven't had that conversation, you can take that as a direction if you wish as well. And how, you know, what Zissis is also going to share, we're going to talk about that, the story of Gaia as well, and like how what's happened in the past, or you know, how we got here, essentially our creation story, how we got here, the journey of Gaia herself as a being, as a conscious living beautiful being, and to where she is now in her journey, and how that involves us and where it takes us. Right. And what we can, how we can contribute, and how we can kind of go with that. So we're gonna talk about that, and it's, you know, we could be here for an hour, so get comfortable. You know, get your water. But ultimately as well, I just want to throw this in right at the beginning. This is all a journey of love. And if we are not including ourselves in that love, i.e. you haven't loved yourself in any way, shape or form, in any part of yourself, it will be showing up in your life right now, appearing as an external reality. And really what that is the aspect of your psyche appearing real for you in your life, so that you can integrate and harmonize and love that part of you that is showing up for you right now. So from that perspective, it is all about love and self-love. Like love is within you, right? So it's like love your immediate environment. If you're going to try and love anything else outside of your immediate environment, and you don't know what it is to love yourself, it's all going to go a little bit tits up. So this is all this is all connected about the story of Gaia, but also you know, that direction. If you're wanting a direction, it's this way, it's towards you, like you were saying, Zissis. It's your heart is the direction. Don't be looking out there for direction, because you'll just get misled again, right? Isn't that how we got here in the first place, Zissis? Is misleading, misguidance?
Well, they're all distractions. All of us are looking for peace, happiness, joy, and all of us are suffering through the external distractions. It's only when you go deep within with the heart, and it's not a metaphor, it's an actual place. And I can describe to you with some of the heart math teachings, that some of the scientific studies, even some of the school of the heart meditations that I do. It's an actual physical place within the heart. And it's the point of singularity. It's the point where it becomes infinite. It's the place where you can find profound peace. And that's what I love everything about your program. I love You Me, because the first step is connect within, right? That's the most important part.
The most important part. If you don't start there, where, you know, what? It's like, where have you been? Where are you going?
Yeah, but again, there's been so much programming, so many distractions, so much information to sift through. And all of us are going, well, I don't know how to get to that point. You know, what do I need to do? You know, I talk to people, it's like, well, I don't know what that is. Because at first, it always is some sort of scientific data. Show me empirical evidence that it exists, and then I will do it, right? It's only when you're kind of coaxed along with the empirical science. And by the way, empirical science is relatively new as a discipline in the grand scheme of things. If you look at the Sumerian civilizations, and even the mythology of, if we go even further, the mythology of Atlantis and Lemuria and many other worlds before that, quite honestly, in my view, the science here is quite pale in comparison to the science that we had in the past. So we coax each other with science, and science is corrupted, has been corrupted, but
Yes.
yet we are coaxed with a science to be led to an experience. And this is why the distractions happen. This is why the fragmentation and splintering happens. Because once you have that experience, you cannot deny it. And when you cannot deny it, you begin to get hungry and thirsty for more.
Absolutely.
So
let's circle back round to that, because
yeah.
you're gonna, I know you have a lot to share on that, and I'd love to hear, because you are obviously Heart Math Institute, I think, gets a lot of respect from a lot of people, because you do kind of bring in the science with the spirituality, and there's a melting pot there where both can both can sit in the same space, which is really, really beautiful. It's very validating. And also School of the Heart, which you've been part of, and you're a teacher of now, and you were telling me that's a 60,000-year-old school.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to hearing this story as well, this creation story of Gaia and the correction part, which
Yeah, that's it's a long and complicated story, so I'm going to try to distill it to as best as I can down to its essential parts, so we can talk about and unpack what that means for us.
just quickly before you do, can you share about the 60,000-year-old School of the Heart? Like, how is that possible?
So, well, I mean, you look at human beings, anthropos, which I'm going to be talking about, the Sophianic myth. As a human species, there have been many variations of who we were as humans, many experiments, let's just say, for in all intentions. So the latest creation, the Adamic race, which we are a part of, this race existed many, many, many years ago, and archaeology has started to uncover a time, like Göbekli Tepe, for example. Now they're saying that is 12,000, 15,000. There's contention within the actual scientific community, because the things that we have yet to uncover is going to tell us our magnificence as a human race that is much, much, much farther in time. We have a collective amnesia. We have a collective amnesia because there was a point in time within our collective history that was trauma, induced collective trauma. We can talk about that in a different subject, but through trauma, we've totally have forgotten everything regarding our past. There are remnants, and I ask all the people that are listening and viewing us, think about the time that you're going through a Facebook page or a YouTube video and you're seeing some of these quote unquote conspiracy theories. When you feel into that, is there a remembrance? Is there a guide that, for some of us anyways, that this sounds true, it sounds pure, when you put it into the measure of your heart? Does that make sense?
No, completely, because the brain actually doesn't know the difference between truth and lies, and love and something that's not love. It just doesn't actually know. It can weigh and measure, but it doesn't know the truth, does it? It doesn't, and our heart, you can't lie to your own heart. The heart will always tell the truth.
Well, from a scientific perspective, again, this has been proven empirically, the heart has 3 times the nerve innervations going to the brain than the brain going to the heart. It has its own heart-brain complex, as it were, right?
Yeah.
So everything that starts from the unseen, and we can unpack that at some other time too.
Yeah, that's another conversation.
That is directed to the heart. The heart then directs it to the brain, and then it goes throughout the rest of the body. So when some of us experience this, gut feeling, my gut is telling me to do this, it's actually a delayed reaction from your heart going to your brain that's going to your heart, right? there's a shortcut. You could actually be in your heart, be in that moment, make that decision, and it's a much faster way to access truth, I think. Absolutely.
It's the master intelligence in the body, because it's source intelligence, isn't it? As you're plugging directly into source infinite intelligence.
It is.
Like that, you know, where would you rather be? In a story that could be true or not true and is made up with loads of different versions according to various people, or just plug straight into the truth?
Absolutely.
I know which one I want.
And that's the challenge for all of us, because well, before I get to that point, I want to also add how beautiful physical organ this heart is. You know, they've proven that, you know, the electrical signals are 100 times much stronger than the heart. The heart has a magnetic signal, an electromagnetic signal. Every time the heart pumps, you have an electrical signal. When you have an electrical signal, you have a magnetic sphere around you, or a magnetic.
Did you just mean, can I take you back a couple of steps? Did you mean to say that the heart has magnetic signal than the brain, the 100 times or 100 and something? Because you said, say it again, sorry.
So the heart has an electrical signal that's 100 times higher than the brain.
That's what I thought you were trying to say, yeah.
And the magnetic signal is actually 500 times higher than the brain.
So if we talk about manifestation and the power of attraction, law of attraction and magnetism, you know, just from that perspective, if you want to attract more things in your life, you would do it with your heart over your brain, right? It's 500 times more powerful.
Well, yeah, and I mean, you know, there are many steps to manifestation, but really usually it begins to talk about envisioning, imagining what that is, creating the emotion of what that is, and then surrendering to what it will be. Right. Those are the three, in short. There's so much I've lost.
Sorry, I just totally distracted you, because I know when I'm thinking or feeling about manifestation, I know I just go, this is what my heart longs for. This is what my heart tells me is true and real. And then it shows up. I kind of bypass a lot of the imagining part. That takes ages and it doesn't really work that well for me. I just go straight to the heart manifestation and it just works. Like, it's instant.
Let me flip it another way though. And this may not hold true for you, but you know, part of the school of the heart and what I was getting to, in that there were no words. Everything was communicated through imagery. So I would hold an image, I would hold that image in my head, and then you would know what that image is. That's a much more powerful way of communicating, because it has so many other aspects of language that, of communication, let's say, that is problematic for words that can't have that sense, if that makes sense.
It does.
So, go ahead.
Also tell us how, so, because I'm still curious, 60,000-year-old school. How do you get to be a teacher of a 60,000-year-old school?
Just apply. It just apply. It's a lineage. So you have to understand as well that the lineage of, you know, teachings have existed on this planet, and they're passed from generation to generation. You know, that's what the Egyptian mystery schools were. That's what the Elysian mystery schools were. That's what the pagan mystery schools were. There are many amazing quote unquote mystery schools, and they're called mystery schools because you have to endure the trials and tribulations of attaining enlightenment, as it were.
Totally.
Right.
Absolutely. And so you were talking about Sumerian and Atlantean civilizations as going back maybe 12,000 years, and it's like, whoa, what happened before that? Did we even? Oh
yeah, and it's a magnificent story, and you know, as the story unfolds and what this planet looked like, because it didn't look like it looked now. There were many other things, many other beings, many other plants. You know, the atmosphere was different. I mean, there were many other things existed beyond what they exist now. And so, you know, our fall, because we did descend in consciousness, you know, 13,000, when Lemuria sank, we did descend in consciousness because of the abuse, the materialistic abuse, similar to what's happening right now. We've reached a crescendo. And when we did, that's when the trauma happened because of the geophysical changes and the rift in time, space, and dimensional shifts that happened. And what came out of that, people were absolutely traumatized, and that has a memory, it has a core memory that continues into incarnation to incarnation.
So take us back to the beginning, because this just got so many different
Splinters.
we could go down. I know, it's fascinating. So
yeah,
give us the kind of digestible short version of the story of creation. Not much task.
So the Sophianic myth, the story of Sophia, this mythology, and there are many mythologies: Greek mythology, Roman mythology, Hindu mythology. And what I like to think of mythology being is history that's been such long ago that we've forgotten, and we call it mythology. So that's my view of what mythology is. But this mythology is the story of Sophia, which was told in the Gnostic texts. And there, the Gnostic texts, there are many Gnostic texts, and scientists, people, archaeologists are been piecing it together, as it were. And one of the main books is the Nag Hammadi. So really, this Sophianic myth is coming out of the Nag Hammadi. By the way, anything that I'm telling you moving forward is from a book called Not in His Image by John Lam Lash. And there are incredible YouTube videos that you can find that he does a much better job than I'm going to be doing here. I'm just distilling the core aspects of it, and anything that I'm taking, I really am taking and lifting from him, just so we're clear.
We can put the link in afterwards so people can come back and, discover John Lam
Lash. Yeah. And he tells a story. The story is such a beautiful story of how Sophia was created. And the story begins in our galaxy, and as we know, we have many galaxies. This is the story of our galaxies, and the story takes place in the galactic center, not in the four-limb reticular spiral of the galaxy, but rather in the center. And in the center exists this divine luminous light, this serpentine energy that is of great magnitude, and within that, this, they call it the pleroma, the fullness, as it were, for our galaxy. Within this pleroma exists these gods and goddesses, and they are polar, called aeons. At least that's what the Gnostics had called them. And so the aeons within this core of the galaxy, they like to rejoice and exultate, to really experiment with the galactic arms. And what they do is they create this germ plasma, as it were, encoded with DNA, and then within the filament, they exercise it within the galactic arms, and then they just wait, as it were. And these worlds appear, these DNAs, they watch these experiments kind of unfold. They can't be part of the experiment, but they are the originators of the experiment.
So it's a bit like the kind of gods, this is how I heard it when I was listening to this story. It's a bit like the gods and goddesses, which are plasmic light, cosmic, divine, fullness.
Yes.
They're having this orgasmic experience.
Yes.
And they're making love.
Yes.
And then they out it goes.
Right.
And they're creating, kind of like that.
They are creating, and it's the DNA implants and the coding that they do. So they code something like this, and then it's like, oh, let's see what happens when this happens. And now it goes this filament, and it rests within a particular arm of the galaxy, and it takes place, and it seeds, and it grows, and so these are the kind of experiments that the aeons do as part of this long, like as long as the galaxy exists, billions of years ago, or as long as the galaxy exists, within billions of years, they exist as well. So this particular aeon, Sophia, and her counterpart, Philinte, and Sophia means wisdom. It's a Greek word for wisdom, and Philinte means the intended one, I believe. They encoded a particular DNA, and they endowed it with so much energy and so much high energy and love. And all the aeons got together and they ejected this DNA plasma germ seed, as it were, and this rested within the Orion Nebula. And as it does, like the mycelium network of mushrooms, you get these filaments, then they start to come out and they take root within the planets that existed at that point in time. And what they've noticed, and what Sophia was noticing, is that the anthropos, which is human, their genetic, their blueprint that was created within the galactic core, what they noticed is that they endowed it with so much energy that they actually, they couldn't handle it, and they destroyed themselves, as it were. They really spun out of control. So Sophia was so withdrawn with that. She cared so deeply and passionate about this particular experiment, the anthropos, and there were 9 versions of this. And she thought about what she can do. What the Gnostics texts talk about is that she started to dream unilaterally, withdrawing from the other aeons. And as she did, she ejected her divine luminous being. Imagine this mass, and she wasn't aware of it because she was so enraptured with the love of this anthropos and ensuring its survival and its growth, that she ejected her mass being, and she started to form into the planet Earth. Now, as she did that, there were some consequences. Think about this divine luminous essence, as it were, and the speed at which it comes, and it came very close to the Orion belt, and as it did, it splashed, and as that created that splash, it impregnated the other dense matter that was there at the time, which created sort of like an aborted fetus of sorts, which the Gnostics called the Archons. And the Archons come in, they're basically, they're not organic, they're inorganic. They've got spindly arms and spindly legs with big heads, like the Greys of sorts. And, they're the drones, the workers, as it were. And they've got their managers, the reptilians, or the Dracos, as it were. Now, should I stop? Any questions?
Yeah, that was quite fast. So let's just catch up. So it's like 1 minute, Sophia, the goddess,
yes.
she's creating, and she's part of this beautiful plasmic energy. And because of the kind of the child seed, if you like, or the DNA of the child has cast out into the galactic arms to start taking shape as an experiment to see what we'll create, is so powerful. What they created was so powerful as a being, it started to destroy itself because it couldn't handle its own power. So as a mother, out of her love, she went out to care for and ensure the survival of her child. And as she did, she also then formed into she changed density, right? She went from the golden light or whatever density.
Right. She was pure energy.
It was pure energy. Right. And then
she descended into matter.
Because she's gone into the spiral arms. There's 4 spiral arms, isn't there, of our Andromeda galaxy? 4 big spiral arms with all the rocks and planets. And
right.
She joined that matter, didn't she? She materialized.
She materialized, or she started her dreaming state, because she was in a dreaming state. She started to materialize. She wasn't aware that she was dreaming. Because
how creation starts, right? All creation starts with that amazing dream.
That's right. And so she was so withdrawn, and her dream became a reality. She became the planet.
And we were just talking about this before, weren't we? Like the manifestation, the desire, the dream, the vision becomes manifest. So she actually manifested herself without realizing, because she was so enamored. The dream was raising her child, right? Loving her child, nurturing her child, which us, in other words.
Which is us, exactly. But in doing so, she created this unintended consequence, which are the Archons. And as she started to firm up, as like imagine the Ouroboros, the snake eating its tail, as she's spinning, and she starts to firm, she begins to understand that she's becoming the planet. And as she becomes the planet, her emotions, her fear, her joy, her pain become the wind, the water, the mountains, all that is within nature, as it were, right?
Yeah, so she's pure emotion, solidified.
Right.
Right, I relate to that. My emotions change with the weather. I feel completely, and also this explains as well, because our planet is a Taurus or a toroid shape, right? So it makes sense that as that serpent-like divine being, and then she's the, what was it called, where the snake eats its tail? What's that called?
Ouroboros.
Ouroboros, that's right. It's beautiful. So there she is. I mean, this goes also, we could, I don't know if we got time to go into this today, but the whole story of the Garden of Eden, and let's do that another time.
Well, the fun fact is that the planet does actually have a magnetic field or a toroidal shape. So our heart has a toroidal shape. Gaia has a toroidal shape.
Everything in nature has a toroidal shape. It just
Anything,
does.
Anything organic.
Anything organic. Yeah, I agree. So, and if you don't know what a toroid is, go look it up, because it's,
yeah,
you just go look it up. Anyway. So do you know what, actually, I love that when you shared this story with me, I was like, oh, so that's what they're called, because many years of doing soul readings, the amount of times I've actually met these Archon beings and unplugged them from humans, because it's a bit like having some artificial, well, they're not artificial, some other form of alien life or intelligence using human beings like a CCTV camera, like connecting to us. And they're essentially so jealous. They're like, you are more loved than I am. They're like the jealous sibling, you know, when they're like, well, you're the beautiful one. You're more loved by source. You're more loved by creation. And we're not loved and we're rejected. And so we're going to try and exist through you. And all this, you know, control and manipulation and weird stuff is going on in the human being.
Well, this is the consequence, right? Think about that. Sophia and Philoton created this anthropos, us, within the galactic, and imbued it with this divine essence. But yet the Archons were part of the outside. They were an unintended creation, right? And so
they're
the story
about that. They're like, we're not loved.
I'll go further in that as Sophia started to firm up, the Archons, which were millions and billions of them, there was an infestation of them. And Sophia, it was like these wasps everywhere around. And so within the flash, she imbued her intelligence to self-direct them so she cannot be bothered, or they're not going to bother her. And they in turn created the planetary system within the galaxy. Again, this is a standalone cosmology within the Gnostic texts. Nothing outside of that. And I want to be clear about that. As they created this planetary system outside, and they can't see very well. The only way that they can see is through radio signals. And the radio signals can only go so far. So as Lord Archon views outside the galaxy, he can't see anything else. He says, well, I guess I created all this. There's nothing else. Well, let's see what we can do. And as they begin to focus their aim, they start seeing this beautiful blue and green planet, and within that sees the anthropos that's already taken root, and as you said earlier, become envious.
Well, the thing is, when I look at their DNA, if you like, it doesn't have like a flame or a light to it. it's very there's no love, there's no emotion. And as far as I've ever seen or been told when I'm doing these soul readings, Zissis, is that we are the only beings in this known universe, and I say known universe, the universe that we know of, that have the ability for to be as dense and solid as we are in form,
yes,
and yet able to absolutely know our true divine source essence and remember it and be it simultaneously whilst being this dense and solid. There's no other being in the universe that can do this. And so according to the Archons, we're the most divine beloved child. We're like the preferred one, the favorite child of creation, and they're like the reject. And they're really pissed off about that.
right. And as they do, because of the envy, they don't want to. Jealousy is one part, but envy really talks about destroying you.
Destructive, yeah, it's destructive.
They want to destroy us.
Yeah.
And so the plan was, and is, and has been, this is what the consequences are and what we have to do here. You know, the implantation, as it were, the thoughts, as it were, the VR, our environment has become more and more synthetic and more I don't know how to describe it, outside of human. I kind of see it two things.
Unhuman, really, isn't it?
There's a race. The way I view it is there's a race that's happening now, and it feels to me so imminent. It's the race to become more and more human, or to be synthesized into a machine of sorts.
AI, it's human, it's new humanity versus AI kind of thing, isn't it?
Well, and you're starting to see parts of that already. You know, it starts with our phones. Those phones become wearables, then they become implants, right? And then you're starting to see infusion with technology with the human essence. It's not only that though, it's the emotional content. So for us, we have characteristics that have imbued us, that Sophia has imbued with us, that are incredibly important. And there's two of those. The power of the imagination, so that we can understand and encompass her story, and the fact that we can interact with this planet, i.e. nature. So those are the two things that those two characteristics that they've imbued, Sophia has imbued within us. Connecting with Sophia empowers us, right? And I lost my thought there.
That's all right. So you're saying we've been imbued with two things. So we were talking about the Archons as well, and them being envious and wanting to destroy us, and there being like, you know, that, well, when we connect with Gaia, Sophia, the mother, the divine, that energy that the planet is a solid version of, you know, solidified manifest divinity, right. Goddess, mother, when we connect with her as a natural relationship with mother to child, you know, a symbiotic mother relationship with the umbilical cord, you know, the sharing the heartbeat. You know, as children, we don't know ourselves as separate from our mothers, do we, until we get to a certain age, you know, and even our identities are still completely gelled with our mothers, even as adults, like we share the identity. So that relationship with the mother is paramount. And what you're saying is that's where we get our power, and we are given free will. We are given the ability to co-create and use our imaginations. Is that what I don't think you said free will. I think I threw that one in.
No, but free will is part of that though. And look what's happened steadily over the course of time. We've slowly been removed from nature or interacting with nature. Most of us, let's say as a generality, right? We've been more
I would say in the developed world, not so much in the undeveloped worlds, but definitely.
Yeah, again, as a generality. The rise of technology and how it affects us, right? That, you know, and the Gnostics text foresaw a time, you know, they foresaw a time that would happen. And what they saw that when that time comes, Sophia would correct the experiment from within. She would provide her children the power and knowledge to reach that ultimate mastery. So, that omen has started to take shape back in 2011. I don't know if you remember, or even past that, or past 2011. I remember here in Canada listening to these sounds that seemed like they were ghostly of sorts. It seemed like ships in distress. It seemed like ice cracking, or it seemed like that or heard that to me. And there were many people that have YouTube videos that kind of don't understand what these sounds were.
I don't remember that at all.
Okay.
I remember 2011 being highly stressful, though. I was really.
Well, that's where the second part of that is that we moved into feminine energy in 2012. So all that involved with that was also very. Listen, ever since 2012, it's been escalating as far as energy goes to a culmination point.
No, in 2011, I'd been doing a lot of soul readings and getting all this information from Gaia, and she was showing me what was happening to her and what was about to happen to her. And I just couldn't relate to normal life after that. I literally sat on my sofa for at least a month and just cried every day because I could not relate to life on the planet the way it looked back in 2011. You know, and the priorities of just getting the kids to school and paying the bills and doing your taxes, compared to what Gaia was showing me was actually happening on a bigger scale. And the gap was too big for me to fathom. And I just was like, I can't deal with this. I just can't deal. Like, I wanted, what world to live in when so much was going on. So, yeah, but I don't remember those sounds. I don't remember them.
So that's Gaia now being releasing within this template of the planetary system. And actually, I'm going to read something that the Gnostic text had talked about. And when
guys,
the culmination,
you're enjoying this, by the way, all guys that are watching this, like, this is far out. There's, it gets better as well.
It's not conventional, for sure. And so when the culmination of their worst, and there being the Archons, they've done everything possible to humanity, i.e. virtual reality, simulation, telepathic mind control, implementation of ideas to destroy humanity. The luminous child would rise up and destroy the Archons. And so this is the intention moving forward. This is where we are right now.
That's in the Gnostic text that you just read that from.
Yeah, in the Nag Hammadi specifically. And so Gaia can't do it herself, right? She has the intention, but she needs most of her children, not all of her children, a good portion of her children to contribute into that. And so what does that mean for us? Because again, at the very beginning of this conversation, I was saying to you, everyone's kind of sitting back and waiting for direction, when it starts with you. It starts with each and one of us. The moment that we can empower the 7 characteristics of the heart: joy, love, peace, trust, harmony, reverence to God, and I'm missing one. I can't remember the other one, but joy, love, peace, trust, harmony, beauty. When we can encompass the 7 aspects, the 7 characteristics of the heart, and be in that space, we're actually raising our frequency, and in doing so, connecting with Gaia and connecting and shifting consciousness as well. This is what the Heart Math Institute calls coherence.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So that story itself, when I first heard it, was absolutely spectacular. Such a beauty, because it's a cosmology within itself. It does nothing else is related. The Gnostics believe that everything else is a distortion by the Archons. It's really quite a simple story. This is the story. The Gaia Sophia transcends and takes her children to a new and I forgot to mention, when she envisioned her children and as they were thriving, she envisioned the sun, the moon, and Gaia, the earth. And as we ascend, those three aspects of the tertiary aspects of the planetary systems would transcend as well.
You know what, that makes total sense to me. Can I share something? I mean, I know that there's more to this story that you want to share as well, so we'll come back. But
I'm actually done. So
oh, are you? I feel like you've got way more, way more story. Anyway, you know, this for me is such a beautiful kind of a validation. I didn't need it validating, but the fact that then kind of you've shared this story and you shared the John Lam Lash video with me that goes into this story in much more detail, and even just the way that you've expressed it today is such a beautiful validation, because it really matches my own personal experience,
right.
You know, and a lot of people don't believe things that I say, and it doesn't matter if you are one of those people that doesn't believe me, but from my own experience, I've had a very visceral memory of feeling to be in like an energy that has consciousness, and it's a tangible energy. It's not just a waft of gas in the universe, or you know, or even that's tangible, but you know what I mean. It wasn't just a voice in the void. It was this tangible, I can feel it in my body when I remember it. I mean, plasma, I suppose, is a good way of saying it, or just energy, an energy body. And there's a consciousness there, and it doesn't feel like a Tara consciousness of who I am now, but this feeling of we are dreaming this Mother Earth, this Gaia, this beautiful planet, so that we can materialize ourselves, or myself, to be physical and dense. So it, you know, the way that the Gnostics tell the story, it's like almost accidental that Sophia starts to manifest herself away from the galactic center and into form. But from my memory of it, it was very much intentional. It was, I want to create, or we want to create ourselves to be as physically dense or seemingly opposite to that which we actually are. And I say seemingly because
it's not real.
There isn't. It's to be in relationship with oneself. It's to say, how can I manifest myself? And it's to fall in love with the creation itself, to fall in love with the very act of dreaming and creation, and to fall in love with manifesting something that seems like the exact opposite to that which we are, this energy, and then to manifest this consciousness, this unified consciousness, into physical form, and then for that physical form to realize itself and make its way back to the original source of creation.
Exactly.
Right. So that's a visceral memory that I have. And then so when I'm listening, and so I had that years ago. So then when I'm listening to Gaia, and I've listened to Gaia in lots of different ways, mostly through doing soul readings with people, and there's, you know, everybody's connected to the earth and everybody's connected to sun, and we have these elements in our creation of the sun and the earth in our physical bodies and in our energy field. So I've connected with Gaia like that, but I also connect with Gaia just by talking to her, and she responds. And so I've learned all these things, and she showed me that the place that she was born in the universe, however she came into form, that she is on trajectory to return to that place in the universe.
Mm.
And so her birth, not, you know, it's like, when does the child first get born or first get created? It's not the moment when the child comes out of the mother's body. That is a you know, a significant moment, but the moment is when the parents dream of that child. Right.
The inception of it.
Exactly. And it is, and it's even bigger than a conception with the mind, because you're not, I mean, unless you're consciously creating,
Right.
It's more than a concept that you can hold in your mind of my child's going to have blue eyes and blonde hair, and he's going to ride bikes and he's going to play football, or whatever. Like it's not a concept. It's that highest state of love dreaming.
Right.
It's that, you know, when you're in love and you're making love and you're just like, what's the most wonderful thing we can create and manifest? And it's that blissed out high vibrational space of dreaming and creation. And in that moment, that conception then begins to come into form, so that it's only a matter of time when an actual physical conception happens.
You've endowed that through the passion and through the inception of you've endowed it into the physical form. This is what I mean, and what you mean about your thoughts are powerful. Watch your thoughts. Your thoughts are powerful.
And all of that intentions, so I've read this from human beings in their souls, like from a male and a female, and I can see when somebody's, that moment of conception, and read the energy in somebody's conception, for example. So, and in that moment, you can see that that's the father's intention that got seeded with his actual sperm, his actual seed that became you.
Yes.
And the mother's environment, her emotional condition, her emotional state, her kind of reception, her ability to receive that intention. Was she receptive to her father, you know, to the father's intention, or not receptive? You know, there's a relationship happening there, even before those two physical elements of creation have, you know, manifested and come together. It's being imbued, like the intention is being imbued, the feeling is being imbued into the egg and into the sperm. So so we're being created like that as physical beings, but it's like that story is like a micro version of the bigger story of creation, of like, actually we were conceived in the divine mind, in the divine consciousness, weren't we?
Yes, absolutely we were. And
it was very much a masculine and feminine. There was no dubiousness about that.
No. And the Gnostics talk about the aeons. They're not omnipotent and omniscient as you know it describes in some of the sacred texts.
Yeah, they're not watching you. Like
no. They're experimenting, and you know they're watching their experiments kind of take fruit, as it were, right? With curiosity. What are they creating? And
it's a creational process, isn't it? And
it's like as above, so below. As the cosmic laws come, we create those within our presence as well. You know, you talked about we create every single day. We've taken for granted that we create every single day. The moment that you have a visual thought, actually, for me anyways, and I'm not sure if it's true for everyone else, you can't have a thought without an image. Images are what starts everything. Without the image, there is no thought. For me anyways, and again, I'm not sure if it holds true for everything, but through that image, you're imbuing that into manifestation. The problem arises, manifestation doesn't occur. It's like it's a loop. You keep thinking about it. You keep imagining it. It's like me writing you a letter, Tara, and all of a sudden I keep writing this letter, and I've got it, I've sealed it, and I'm going to put it into the post office. Oh, I haven't taken it. I missed something. Oh, let me put it back again. And that letter never really goes. You have to let go of the letter in order for whatever that intention is to bloom.
The how part of creation to unfold, right? The anomaly, the unknown, the mystery. No, it's true. But I feel like, so in creation, for me, even before, an imagery is super important. That's the moment it starts to come into form, is the image. But there's creativity and creation beyond even the form. It's where it's still in absolute formlessness, where there is no image. Maybe there's just light that hasn't yet formed into a density of an image. And in that light, there is just absolute beingness. And for me, there's bliss. I was in that state when I was giving birth to my first child, I have to say. I completely went into the light. There was no body, there was no breathing, there was no Tara. There was just this light and this absolutely blissed out ecstatic beingness, like so blissed out that it's almost neutral. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's flatline gone.
Yeah. Well, isn't the experiences right now of ayahuasca similar in many ways? The fact that people kind of dissolve into this formless light, as it were, with all these images.
They're vomiting into a bucket and they're in a
Different,
they're literally falling apart. No, I'm kidding.
But all I'm trying to say in that is when you actually dissolve, whether it's through meditation, because meditation actually does that as well, deep meditation.
Yeah.
Whether the experience, and I think the plant medicine part of that is for people in the physical that have been so grounded in the physical to understand that there is a reality beyond the form, and because once they see that, everything dissolves. You can't go back to that anymore.
Absolutely. And they have what they call an ego death, right?
Exactly.
Well, what they thought they were has to completely dismantle for them to, but and that's what's happening now, isn't it? It really is an ego death. What you said, okay, linking this back to the Archons and back to the AI and back to everything that, technical intelligence, artificial intelligence, alien intelligence, if you like, even, something that is not actually human, is not unconditional love based, doesn't have that essence of divine source creation and, and the ability to know itself. It's like absence. It's absent of that. It's something else. It's the artificial, right? And here's the artificial that absolutely loves linking in with our little ego chip that we have in our little brain that says, I am separate. I am who created me. Well, I must be the creator. I must be the boss, and it can get those two things. It's almost like a manifest version of our own ego, right? Or maybe it's an implant from those Archons that's in our ego, in our minds.
Absolutely. There are many variations of that, but
the way around we want to look at it, really.
Well, and that's really what it takes. It takes courage then to go within, to connect within yourself as the first step of your program. It takes a lot of courage to do that, because knowing that you're going to connect with yourself means that you can't go back on that journey. You've started that path, right? And as difficult, and it typically is, I'm not going to make any bones about it, paths are difficult for a reason, right? They're transformations. I don't want to use the pupae into the butterfly. There's a much more beautiful metamorphosis, and that is the dragonfly. If people don't know the metamorphosis of the dragonfly, it's one of my favorite, because as a small water being, it devours everything. It is the prime of its ecosystem, as it were. It just all of a sudden, a gene turns on, and that gene grabs onto a branch, and that branch then becomes this pupae, as it were. And
you mean underwater?
No, above. It's in the water, and then this gene turns on at a particular point in time. It actually descends into a limb of
a gene. You mean a particle of its genetics?
Correct.
From a dragonfly's body, which is not a dragonfly yet. It's living in the water.
Exactly. It lives in the water. It's genetic composition. That gene turns on and says, okay, we're going to become something more than what we are right now. And then it finds a branch. There's a pupae of sorts. It uses the water, it grows, it uses the water that it has within and starts using that action, that water action, and starts to push its tail out and starts to push its wings out, and then it begins to fly. And I love that because there's many metaphors within that. The water into the air, the something into something else. And that's where we are in the collective evolution.
And something that's so tightly coiled, then uncoiling and becoming much bigger than you would ever have thought it would become, right?
That's right.
And having wings, which you would never have guessed as a water creature that would ever have.
Well, and more importantly, Tara, it begins to fly. It begins to fly.
You know what? The other morning, I was sitting out on my garden steps in my dressing gown, and a dragonfly just came and landed and sat on my arm for ages. It's a little one. It's really, I don't have a pond or anything in my garden, and it was just like, hi. It's really nice.
That's actually a divine symbol.
Yeah, I love them.
Divine is communicating through nature.
So we are mutating through nature, essentially. We are having a metamorphosis that is like a mutation. And you know what, Gaia, I wanted to kind of link this in, because we got 3 strands or so of conversation happening here simultaneously. So let's just update them.
There's a few strands.
There's a few going on. So when Gaia was saying to me about herself, her as a body, as a planet, as a conscious living being, you know, beautiful being, breathing being, that she is going back to the same point in the universe where she was first created, and then going back to that divine conception moment, right, that we were talking about.
Yeah.
That she's going back there to the place where she was first created. And when I saw that, and she's showing me what this looks like, and I'm getting this information through, you know, my human sensory ability, which is vision and feeling, and, you know, as much as I can accurately kind of understand what she's trying to tell me, I could see in the sky, well, what looks like a sky. I mean, it's really hard to kind of say, right. But I was seeing 2 suns.
Exactly.
I was seeing the sun that we have now, which is the night and day sun, the one that gives us creation information. There's literally light codes that come from the sun, and I literally see these, and then they communicate with the earth elementals and creators, and they manifest plants and things, and, you know, all kinds of stuff. Us. There's that sun, the information sun, but there's this other sun that is a lot bigger, that it doesn't burn you. Then when you look at it, it's like looking at the face, it's like looking in the mirror, except not a glass mirror where you see an actual face of yourself, but it's like looking in the face of true, absolute, unconditional love of the Divine Father, and seeing who you really are whilst looking into that. And it was just so unbelievably, I mean, my eyes were like this. I was just like, whoa.
That's
incredible. To see that which we truly are, and that there, I mean, I don't know if this is actually going to happen, but if you think that a little water nymph can, yes, which you'd never ever imagine could turn into a dragonfly, if that can happen, then we really can't conceive of the conception that we actually are, can we? Of the divine conception that we are. And right now with these little water nymphs, yeah. And we actually have wings, hence this I love you, me symbol. Again, communication through symbols, right? Because it communicates everything, communicates so much that actually we are becoming that which we always dreamed we could. And the dream, we weren't just a part of the dream, because the dreamer is us, the dreamer is within us, the dreamer is the creator within us. So it's like we're being dreamed into existence, and we're the dreamer. And it's like our most epic dreams that we could ever, beyond our wildest dreams imaginable, it's like that's actually our potential for what we're becoming. And it doesn't happen through AI, does it? It doesn't happen. It's like
it doesn't happen through AI, and it happens by making a choice. And this is actually really why I want to distill this whole conversation. You know, the myth is a beautiful story, and you can leave it as a story. You know, everything we've talked about is just information. Yeah. But bottom line, I want everyone to be empowered as we leave this FaceTime Live call with action. What can I do, right? Because I think, as I both my partner and I, my business partner and I, created a video called Fear and Love, and we're going to do a part 2. And within that, there is the crossroads of humanity. We have to make a decision. We want to continue living in the world of fear, things that have been implanted in us, things that we may have been influenced, things that may have not been part of the organic part of who we are. Or do we finally step into our divineness by making a choice? And there's responsibilities by doing so. Walking into love, embodying love. Because when we do, Tara, it's my belief that we will transform collectively.
I think that's the only way it happens. You have to, it's like going within, putting this consciousness, plugging it into the heart is like plugging into the supreme intelligence of ourselves as a singular being, but also collective consciousness intelligence, consciousness of source creator, And when we do that, it's like plugging into the mainframe, I suppose, you know,
Yeah.
and being activated as part of the activation that is happening. And because we've been given free will, we can be the tyrant child who says, no, I don't want to do that. I don't believe in that. That's all rubbish. You're just crazy or whatever, you know, maybe you're just dreaming. That's okay. It's like, you know, go and try and do something else other than be part of this incredible mass rebirthing consciousness awakening, you know, love manifestation that's actually happening on this planet.
Well, I would
Try
offer
not to be.
well, I would say to people, Tara, I would say, you know, we've tried for thousands of years this one way.
Yeah.
What would it take? I mean, all we got to do is just try for a little bit. If it doesn't work, we can go back to the misery and the pain and the suffering. That's really up to our choice. But why don't we try this part first? We haven't tried this yet.
We so haven't, as a collective consciousness, as a race of human beings. As far as I'm aware, this has never happened before. No, where we have absolutely, as a collective, actually come to understand and realize that we are unconditional love and be love in action, love activated, if you like. It's never happened. And yet we've been designed to be this since the very beginning.
And it's through that, and it's through our collective experiences, through the birth, rebirth cycle, and those memories and those learnings and lessons that have distilled us to this precise point, this precise magnificence.
Gaia told me, she's like, you needed to first be everything that you're actually not.
Exactly.
In order for you to realize what you actually are. And that was part of the experiment. That was encoded in, that's part of the plan, you know, is to completely forget who you are and walk around banging your head on brick walls, freaking out and suffering, only so that you will remember. Because even, and this is what we were talking about on the Divine Feminine Roundtable the other day, like even that lostness, that darkness, that forgetting was implanted or was part of the design as the wake-up call, because you're only supposed to have suffering if it wakes you up, if it's that moment to say, God, I don't actually like this, I'm not going to do that again, you know. Like if you ran into a brick wall because you determined that you think your life is supposed to go that way, and you go, I'm going to go through it, I'm going to fight it, I'm going to be in my power, you know, and you're fighting. How many times are you going to do that before you just actually stop doing it because it hurts too much? Exactly. But the thing is that a lot of humanity is not stopping. They're just going, no, keep fighting. I'm just going to keep throwing myself at this brick wall.
Because they don't have the self-realization yet. You know, they're still in the dream. They're still dreaming. And this is where compassion comes from the ones that are awake.
Like, stop it, friend. Just come here, come home.
Because all of us, you know, as the saying said, you can have a kiss on the forehead to awake, or have a 2x4 across the head. Choice is yours.
Yeah, I like the analogy of the birthing. You can have a completely painless, blissful birth, or you can have, you know, the forceps, and you can have the, you know,
yeah.
You can have putting yourself on a silver platter, literally, and have it done to you. You know, it's going to be painful. There is a choice, absolutely. So when, you know, I think it's a no-brainer. People, you know, when you really feel about it, not think about it, like you said, because there's less magnetism, there's less information than going on up here in the brain. When you actually feel about it and come into your heart, do I want suffering and fear and lockdown and close down and artificial AI to program me and control my AI world? Do I want that because I want to live in a world of fear where all my children are microchipped and, you know, my every move is watched by Big Brother? Or
do you want to be part of a hive mentality, or do you want to be a sovereign being in your magnificence?
It's a no-brainer, really, isn't it? It's literally no brain. Heart says, yes, please. I want that joy. I want liberation. I want my truth. I want my true expression.
Exactly.
So when people choose that, because it is a choice, and it's really good to consciously choose and say, I now choose, make a declaration.
Yeah, and that's something that actually I'm going to be posting a sovereignty statement on my Instagram feed.
Nice.
Because it is, you may not believe it, that's fine, but utter the words and see what feeling it provokes within you, because that's something that starts. It's that like dragonfly gene expression all of a sudden. It could be a word, it could be an action, it could be a smell. You don't know what that will provoke. The important part, our part, is to do, not to sit back. It's to do.
Yeah,
it's to be that expression of love.
Absolutely. So your Instagram is, how can people find you on Instagram if they want that declaration?
I will send you the info, and that can be posted on the FaceTime live.
We will post it in the section below. Okay, so
yeah, and I would love if people can go on our YouTube page as well. There's some amazing videos that you're a part of as well through the Divine Feminine Roundtable. And what we're trying to do, Paula and I, is really bring a community, much like you're doing in the UK, and start making those connections with everybody, because it's only through the collective that we start to inspire other people to say, yeah, it is what it is.
Absolutely. And for me, it's like my logo here. It's the circles within circles, and this is how the interconnection of all of us. Like we're doing the same thing. We're all part of the same team, right? We're all doing that same. It's about the self-realization and the awakening. So there was a piece there when you were talking, and I really wanted to kind of add it in, and now I can't even remember. So I'm hoping that it's going to come back. But so about making that choice, making that declaration. That's what I was going to say. We all know how powerful words are for opening doors, right?
Absolutely.
Those words that you say, you're spelling into your existence, you're activating your conscious free will, your divine will, your power of choice. Use your power of choice. If you don't use your power of choice, you will lose it. It's quite simple. It's simple, isn't it?
It is.
Activate, use your power. Otherwise, somebody else will use it on your behalf, and they may choose things you don't want to choose. So make sure you are choosing for yourself. That's like no-brainer. Have to do that. And so when you have chosen, Zissis, will you share with people how to activate the heart? Like, how do we do that?
Absolutely. I won't be able to do it.
We've got time now, because actually we've been on here for an hour and 17 minutes. Actually, it's flown by super fast.
Yeah, it has, hasn't it? It's been a very enjoyable conversation.
I know, right? We could keep talking. And beautiful Paula, your business partner's just left me a message as well.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Well, I tell you what, right? Because maybe this is a whole another conversation about heart activation, and I'm sure you're going to come back on and we can do another one of these, and you can help people with heart activation. But they can find you on your media channels. We'll put all the posts below, all the information below, so people can find you.
Yeah, and happy to be of service to everyone that needs to be. My purpose in life is to be of service to humanity.
All right, I agree. How I share it is, when I love and serve myself, I can then love and serve others from that place. And I know you're already, I know that you practice that as well. It's absolutely like be in service to your divine sovereign self. Learn how to do it on yourself, learn how to master it for yourself, and then share it with others, right? That's what you've done, isn't it, Zissis?
Absolutely. It starts with you. All expressions start with you. Then it goes to the second part. And then after you create that union with the second part, then it goes out to the universe. But it all starts with you.
Yeah. And I think people also don't realize how powerful their choice is. It's like, well, I haven't got a choice because this, that, and the other is more powerful than me. That's only appearing to be true because you haven't grabbed your own power of choice. Like I said, if you have to use it, otherwise you lose it. You know.
Well, it starts with your thoughts. So be careful what you think. Your thoughts are the most important, powerful things. Thoughts are pieces of quantum, pieces of things that actually create reality. So it starts with your thoughts. Your thoughts create emotions. Your emotions creates the reality. And so when people say that you're not powerful enough, I would say, go back and audit your thoughts. What are you thinking? What are you preoccupied most time of the day? Is it a good conversation with yourself? Is it a bad conversation or a negative part of yourself? Is it a little bit of both? Where are you predominantly within that scale?
Absolutely. And that's what the I Love You Me method does, by the way. It's a self-love conversation, and it will undo your conditioned non-self-loving conversations and all the conditioning that's got in there, and give you the very simple steps to unravel all of that and come back to truth, come back to your true self. So that is still free on my website, taraloveperry.com. You can still go and get the entire book, this entire book.
And soon to be video, right?
Soon to be video series, and soon to be second edition of book with all the incredible.
By the way, congratulations.
Thank you. It's just one thing after another, just is manifesting.
It is.
But I wanted to also share before we go here from Gaia. She says she just keeps saying it. All my children come home now.
Yes.
She's like, you've been lost and hurt and wounded and damaged and destroying yourself and destroying each other because you're so upset that you're lost and you just want to come home. And it's like we get into that frenzy like a little kid, or we just go, yeah, and we don't even know what we need anymore. We've got so lost. Yes. And so then it's like, well, you can't live like that, so what are you going to do with it? You're just going to go and take it out on everybody else. And it's just like a no-win situation. And she's just like, that mother love is so powerful, is so strong, that it will, what's the word? Is the quash a word? I don't want to say squash. Her love is so powerful that it will just
dissolve,
scoop you up.
Yeah.
And all of that pain, suffering, frustration, lostness, blindness, darkness, fear, suffering, it all just gets somethinged. I can't think of the right word. Quelled,
dissolved
with her love. It just does. And that is actually happening. You're going to feel that more and more. It's actually going to be harder and harder to resist the love that you are, because the homecoming beacons inside of you are so activated right now that if you resist that and try and go the other way, you really are going to be hurting yourself. That really is self-destruction. That shutting out your own intelligence systems is madness. Okay, so those signals, those homecoming beacons within you are getting so activated that it's only a matter of time before you actually have to go with the wave. And there is a wave happening, a wave of awakening, a wave of consciousness, a wave of the birthing waters breaking all over the planet as Gaia births herself. And she's journeying, she's traveling so fast through the universe. We might not see this because we're on it, we're too in it to see. Yes. But our consciousness is going through so many downloading of old information and uploading of new information, such a rapid scale that we actually shouldn't try and keep up with it and try and stay conscious of every little thing that's going on up here. It's like we need to actually soften and go into chilled state, right? Go into meditation, go into wandering in nature, go into daydreaming state, because your psyche is so busy right now. Yours a highway of psychic highway is having an intense experience of releasing the old programming and uploading the new paradigm,
and then integrating all that
emotionally, physically.
This is why we see, the emotional state, the heaviness. Sometimes I know within my life, some of the stuff that's come down through me, I'm like, whoa, it takes some time to integrate everything.
You might need to lie in bed for 3 days, or just lie out in the sun in nature for a time, hug a tree to help it anchor. It's literally that's a lot of people are feeling really tired, and their normal rhythms of sleeping are completely off. And I would say just go with your body. Don't judge yourself. Don't think, oh, I should, could, would. Just go with it. Listen to your body intelligence. Let the mother birth you, and you simultaneously assist her in her birthing of you. Like, don't be the baby in the birth canal that's kicking and fighting and trying to go back up the other way. You know, it's like that.
Right.
Nobody wants that. That's a dangerous outcome. So just
and when you have that disconnect, it's really important to be in nature and allow nature to remove the negativity, the toxins, whatever that is, because Gaia does work through nature. You know,
it happens so easily, doesn't it? Do you lie on the floor? I put my belly on my forehead on the ground sometimes and just.
I connect. I usually walk barefoot wherever I am, number one. And number two, I've got a forest behind me. And it's one of my pleasures because, you know, all the trees, it's like a really small community. It's like a community of trees that talk to each other and talk to me as I go. And it's just connecting in such a beautiful way.
So that really helps integrates the codes that are coming through from the galactic center. That's what I'm also feeling, you know, the galactic center, the home base, the homing beacon for Gaia to get back home as much as for us. You know, if you're following along the Gnostic story there.
Yeah.
For me, that's very real, actually. And it's great that it's written in a book, but it's actually like, we are in this. We might not see it from that perspective of where we are right now, but it's happening. We're moving through our solar system at a huge speed. Psychic information on that highway is intense. What's happening in our physical body is like what that little water nymph is happening as it turns into, you know, and we are mostly water. We are like little water nymphs, aren't we? You know, developing, you know, activating these new DNA codes that have always been within us. And here they are now activating because the timing is right. And we are literally becoming something that we've never been before.
Well, and science has proven that a lot of, what do we have? A lot of junk DNA. Scientists don't know why I think it's only like 20, 15% of the DNA that's been activated. Yeah. Imagine when all of the DNA is activated. And this is really what's starting to happen as new codes from the sun come in.
Yes, absolutely. It's all planned. That, you know, when I ask Gaia, you know, what to do, she's like, we got this. It's all planned. Just go with the plan. Just love yourself. And she told me that the other day. She was like, I love myself enough to say, enough of being so far from my home, enough from being so out of integrity with who I really am. I love myself enough and I'm coming back into integrity now. And it's like, I've loved you enough, my children, to give you this time of experiencing and experimenting with who you are and what you think you are and what you're not and everything. And it's like, you've had your destruction time, you've had your play time, and now I love myself enough. I'm going to go back to the integrity of who I actually am. I'm going home and you're all coming with me. So, you know, get on board.
Yeah, and I think it's really important, Tara, as we move forward, because there are going to be substantial changes within our environment, within the world. Suspend disbelief in what you see, feel, hear, and touch. Try to get to a place of neutrality where there is no emotion per se. That's the best way you can have and tap into your heart, as it were. And most of all, compassion, kindness, support for each other. You know, if you see someone that is hurting or somebody that needs help, lend a hand. That's what we're here for. Collectively, through those actions, this is how we overcome and ascend.
I think that's absolutely beautiful. I love what you just said there.
Yeah.
Suspend. Say it again. Suspend.
Suspend what you see within the reality in front of you, because it is going to be horrible. You know, the truth is going to prevail finally. And when it does, whatever the truth is for each and every one of us, it's going to be horrible. It will elicit reactions. It'll be within that emotional, suspend disbelief. Just move yourself into a place of neutrality. No matter how horrible the news may be in that neutral state, because only then can you tap into the divine truth and what needs to happen after that point, right?
Because it can be very emotionally as well as mentally disempowering, can't it? We're getting sucked into the drama that is presenting to actually like to suck your power.
Well, and that's what the Archons do, right? It's getting into the point of getting into anger, disgust, fear, disempowerment.
And
That
keep
is
fighting one another. You know,
right.
I'm even seeing like people that are, you know, supposed to be or class themselves as very spiritual, just totally slagging somebody else off for their opinion. And it's like, guys, come on.
It's a splintering and a fragmentation I really don't understand, because everyone has a point of view, and what is the saying? There's 8 billion people on this planet, and 8 billion or each one must have his perspective on that. So be tolerant, be supportive. It's not about you, it's about us all together,
Where we go one, we go all, right? It's all of us.
Where we go one, we go all, indeed. Yes. That was fun.
I'm just feeling that, it's a lot of words that we've said, but ultimately it's in that aspiration to really just communicate what's happening in here, what's happening within us, what the heart's telling us. When I'm listening to Gaia, it's not like, oh, it's from within is where that communication comes from, is where that connection comes from. And it's like, yeah, just rest your head, everybody. Just rest. Breathe, feel.
Is that a voice for you? Is that a knowing? How does that translate for you?
Oh, when I hear Gaia, it's like an actual conversation.
Right. So you're hearing a voice.
Yeah. Yeah. And the first time I heard it, I was actually on the Hill of Tara in Ireland. Gosh, I don't know when that was, 2007 or something. Yeah, my kids were little. And my friend Carl Yuri, if you're watching, you gave me this massive like selenite wand, and I love selenite. It's big wand. I went with my dad and my 2 kids, and I was like, you need to go to the Hill of Ireland, which is partly where I was named from. And I'm sitting on this hill, and there's a big protest at the time, big road protest. They were going to carve a road through some sacred ancient grounds, and all these people were camping out. And I went up to the hill, and it was sunset, and I just sat there, and for some reason I got this selenite, and I like knocked 3 times on the ground, and I heard, this is the first I heard it, and she said her name, Gaia, and it was like, Gaia. And I was like, wow. I was like, that's your actual name? I thought that was just some hippy dippy name that people call you, because I was much more connected to up and spirit than I was earth and down. I was, so I was like, oh, you're real. And she talked, and actually, that thing that you said, actually, she showed me an image of like these flowers coming out of the earth that were absolutely golden. And she said, these are my children. You are the children of the earth. And some of us are star seeds, and we've come down here and made our homes here to help seed and activate this. And that's totally what I am. But she was showing me how children of the earth are being born from this earth, or those of us that are already here as like an ambassador, if you like, then suddenly awakening, like you've been asleep and then suddenly you awaken and you're this golden flower. And she showed me the whole earth awakening with these beautiful golden flowers. And she was just in so much gratitude for us, her children, because without us, she can't manifest who she truly is. It's a completely symbiotic relationship. She needs us, we need her. It's that, it's that unity, it's that, like, it's the love that's there. It's beautiful. So even that was in your story of the Gnostics, which was awesome.
Yeah It's a beautiful story. I mean, stories have a way of transforming, because they speak in metaphors, and people take what they want from that.
Well, my love, we've been here for an hour and a half, and this is exquisitely beautiful. I absolutely love it. Thank you for sharing.
No, thank you for sharing, and thank you for all that you do. Your program is amazing, and I encourage everyone to download the PDF and to go through your program. It's absolutely exquisite.
Thank
you. It's the first step of the transformation.
Well, you're going to be involved in that. You're going to help me, I think, with some things on the self-love evolution mission, the self-love, let's all go home.
We'd be more than happy to help.
I think everybody's on it. We're all on the same mission, aren't we? The mission of love. That's it. That's it. The mission is love.
The mission is love, indeed. Fantastic.
All right, beautiful souls. Thank you so much for sharing this time with us, for watching. Please put your comments below. I do try and get back to everybody's comments, and I'm sure Zissis will do the same thing, and connect, and see you next time for more how-tos, please, Zissis, how to get into that heart. And I know you've got some amazing meditations to share as well.
Yeah, I'd love to go through some heart meditations for some people, the cleansing, healing. I mean, we'll talk about it, and maybe I can take you through one and provide some commentary and move forward. Yeah, love to.
Let's do that. Let's do that on another one. But also, people, you can go to Zissis, you can go and have those one-to-one heart, meditations with Zissis. And I'm very lucky. I'm getting mine on Saturday, so I'm I look forward to that.
And for me, it's just, people, please make a choice. The choice, that's what needs to happen right now. And you'll begin to understand, as more people make choices, our reality is going to change. Don't wait for anybody. Make the choice now.
It's super fun. Oh my God, it's the best thing ever. So I love you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here, Zissis. And guys, I'll see you soon. Later, love.